Mom's diamond ring flashed beneath the chandelier as she pointed at me. Family stands together, and you refused. The room froze mid-laughter. Dad's jaw tightened, and Lauren's smirk cut sharper than the silverware. The Dallas air pressed heavy, thick with perfume and judgment. I closed my ledger, snapped it shut like a vault on trust, and walked out. My name's Erin Blake. I'm 26, from Dallas. I manage budgets for other people. I just didn't realize I was one of them. Outside, the night air was warmer than inside that room. My heels clicked against the driveway, steady, each step cutting cleaner than anything I could have said. My car still smelled like work, coffee and printer ink. I sat there a long time, watching the porch light flicker. Then I opened my banking app, fingers cold, and moved my paycheck into a new account. Closed the shared ones. Bookmarked the silence like it was freedom. You ever notice how quiet rebellion can sound louder than a scream? That night, it did. I packed one suitcase, the essentials. One navy suit, 2 pairs of jeans, my father's old calculator, and a stack of receipts that proved I'd always been keeping score, even when I didn't want to. When the zipper caught, I forced it closed. Maybe that was the first honest closure I'd had in years. The streets outside my apartment glowed soft yellow. Someone's sprinklers hissed, the sound almost like applause for leaving. I poured a glass of tap water and stared at the faint reflection in the window. Tired eyes, steady hands. You did it, I whispered, but the voice didn't sound like victory, more like inventory. If you've ever left your own family table, you know that kind of silence hums. It hums through the walls, through your bones. I tried to sleep but couldn't. The memories kept flipping on like lights in an empty hall. Lauren, 8 years old, messy ponytail, standing in front of me on the playground. "Leave her alone," she'd said to the older kids. She'd pushed one of them so hard his backpack tore open. We'd laughed then, our hands sticky from melted popsicles. Funny how people who once defended you can later destroy you with the same conviction. By midnight, I had written a note to myself on the back of an old receipt. Don't justify peace, just earn it. I folded it into my wallet right behind my ID, like armor. A car drove past, slow, headlights sweeping across my window. I froze for a second, pulse racing. It was nothing. Just late-night traffic. Still, I double-checked the locks, the kind of habit you learn after trusting the wrong people too long. When dawn stretched pale over the city, I made coffee, checked my phone, and thought maybe the worst was over. Then, at 6:03 a.m., 3 notifications flashed across the screen. Card declined. Not mine. Theirs. And that's when I realized silence wasn't the end. It was the first move. Thank you for being here and listening. Please help me with a subscribe. It would mean a lot and give me the motivation to keep sharing meaningful stories with you. Thanksgiving morning came quiet, the kind of quiet that hums through thin apartment walls. I scooped cheap stuffing from a microwave tray and raised my glass of water. To new tables, I said to no one. The sound bounced back like agreement. The blinds filtered soft light over the counter piled with unopened mail. I scrolled through old family photos, forced smiles, matching sweaters, the illusion of unity. Mom's pearls, Dad's polite grin, Lauren's perfect hair. Every pixel screamed performance. I laughed once, low and sharp. Gratitude's a solo act now. Then came the calls. Mom first, voice dripping guilt. You don't walk out on family, Erin, especially today. Dad tried next, his tone all confusion. You know how your mother gets, let's not make it bigger. And Lauren, straight to cruelty. Enjoy your lonely meal. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my banking app, and sent one last $500. Memo. Last time? Then I muted every thread. The silence that followed felt earned. Have you ever realized love had an invoice attached? That every act of care came with a receipt? I had that moment between bites of cold stuffing. Outside, someone's TV played the parade. Bright trumpets, cheering crowds, fake snow. The noise filled the gap where conversation used to live. I rinsed my plate under warm water, not because I cared, but because habit dies slower than hope. The apartment smelled faintly of sage from last night's attempt at calm. The phone buzzed again. Becca, my only neutral zone in this war. She texted first. Listen before you answer. Then came the file, a voice memo. My mother's voice. Family stands together, and you refused, she said. Again and again, each take more dramatic than the last. Lauren laughed in the background. Perfect. You'll sound strong. Then Mom added almost proudly, I'll cry after. People believe tears. The recording stopped. I just sat there, phone glowing in my palm, pulse steady but cold. Some truths don't hit, they seep in. I played it again, slower, then forwarded it to myself under a new folder. Proof. You ever hear something so rehearsed it ruins every memory that came before it? That's what that audio did. It rewrote years of family moments in a single minute. I poured more water, leaned back, and whispered, So, it was all theater. The sunlight shifted across the floor, long and pale. My inbox pinged again. Subject line, HR, urgent meeting request. I stared at it for a full 10 seconds, that same stillness before the next storm. Freedom, I realized, always comes with paperwork. The HR office smelled like burnt coffee and carpet cleaner. I sat across from Mr. Harmon, hands clasped tight in my lap, watching the clock tick just a little too loud. He slid a folder across the desk, face unreadable. An anonymous complaint came in, he said. It claims you moved company funds. The words landed flat, practiced, almost bored, but my chest tightened anyway. I opened the folder. Screenshots, spreadsheets, account transfers, timestamps, all fake, but just real enough to sting. Whoever made them knew my formatting, my color codes, even my signature style of notes in the margins. Mr. Harmon rubbed his temples. They're crudely edited, but I can't ignore it. We have to review this. You ever feel your own job turn on you? Like the tools you built your stability with suddenly aimed back at you? That's what it felt like, getting audited by ghosts. I nodded. Do what you need to do. My voice came out steadier than I expected. Years of professionalism make good armor. The rest of the day blurred. Colleagues avoided eye contact. My inbox stayed silent except for a single calendar invite. Verification meeting, 4:15 p.m. I showed up early, as always. The IT guy, Will, had that nervous kindness people get when they know you're innocent but can't say it yet. He pointed at his monitor. We traced the complaint email's IP. It pinged from a public Wi-Fi near Mockingbird Cafe. My pulse skipped. Lauren's favorite spot. I'd sat there with her before, listening to her brag about free refills and the barista who spelled her name right every time. Will didn't notice the shift in my face. We'll send this to legal, he said. You'll probably get cleared by tomorrow. I thanked him, voice small. Then I walked out into the hall that smelled like printer ink and recycled air, the kind of place where people whisper with their eyes. By evening, my desk looked the same, neat, quiet, loyal, but I didn't trust it anymore. My reflection in the monitor felt like a stranger's. Mr. Harmon stopped by before heading out, file in hand. You're cleared, Aaron, he said finally. But someone knew your routines. They knew exactly how to make this believable. I forced a nod. Thank you. When he left, I sat there for a while, staring at the company logo on the wall. It used to mean stability. Now it looked like a lock I didn't have the key for. The city outside my window hummed with Friday traffic. Somewhere out there, Lauren was probably sipping her latte, satisfied. I drove home in silence, radio off, every red light too long. Inside the apartment, the air felt still, waiting. I dropped my purse on the counter and saw it. An envelope slipped under my door. No return address. I opened it carefully, the paper soft from handling. Inside, a single page, notice of unpaid account, balance due, 3482 Class Avenue, opened in my name, dated 4 years ago. That's when I stopped breathing for a second. Not from fear, from recognition. They weren't just taking money, they were rewriting my history. The next morning, I woke up before the sun, already in defense mode. I filed reports, froze my credit, redirected mail, and locked everything I could. Bank, utilities, even old accounts I hadn't touched in years. Each password reset felt like boarding up another broken window. By noon, the phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Aaron? This is Mark, from the church. You used to approve reimbursements, right? His voice held the kind of hesitation that precedes bad news. Your name's still active in the system. Someone's been submitting forms under it. Checks cashed. Months of them. My throat tightened. Who signed them? A pause. Lauren. I pressed the bridge of my nose, the room spinning slightly. The spreadsheet in front of me blurred into gray lines. It wasn't about money anymore. It was a pattern, familiar, repetitive, almost elegant in its cruelty. Every boundary I built, they found a new door through. You ever realize the scam wasn't an accident? It was a family tradition? I hung up, logged into the account myself, and saw it. Digital fingerprints everywhere. My name. Her handwriting on scanned forms. My initials forged with practiced ease. Something inside me didn't snap. It sank. Like realizing the foundation was cracked long before the first tremor. A memory surfaced without invitation. Sunday dinners at the long oak table. Laughter. Pot roast. My mother passing dishes like communion. Lauren teasing me for counting pennies. Dad raising a toast to giving back. The warmth had always felt real, until now. Now it was just stage lighting. That evening, a knock came. 3 taps. Measured, confident. I opened the door halfway. Lauren stood there, smiling like she'd rehearsed it. Her nails perfect, phone in hand, one printed sheet folded neatly between her fingers. Just 1 page, she said softly, like she was offering peace. I studied her face, searching for the girl from the playground, the one who once protected me. She was gone. Only performance left. No more pages, I said, and closed the door. Her perfume lingered in the air, a mix of vanilla and old betrayal. I leaned against the door until I heard her heels fade down the hallway. Then I let the keys slip from my hand, hitting the floor with a small, final sound. That was it. The last permission revoked. For the first time, the apartment felt like mine, but empty in a way that truth can be. The night stretched thin, quiet but tense, the kind of silence that waits. I sat on the couch, scrolling through old voicemails, deleting one after another. Just as I reached the last, the screen lit up again. Unknown number. One new message. I pressed play. A man's voice, low and grainy. You think you're safe? The line clicked dead. I stared at the phone, heart steady but cold. Maybe safety wasn't something you reached. Maybe it was just something you built. One locked door at a time. Morning light spilled across the hallway tile, catching the mess before I did. My mailbox hung open, metal bent, lock cracked. Envelopes scattered like fallen leaves. Credit offers, bank statements, junk mail, all torn, some opened, some missing. I crouched, gathered what was left, hands shaking not from fear, but from familiarity. I'd seen this pattern before, chaos dressed as coincidence. Downstairs, the super shrugged. "Probably kids," he said, but his eyes darted away when he saw the careful cuts in the metal. "Kids don't use tools." Back inside, I laid everything on the table, sorting through fragments of my own life. Half a utility bill, part of a bank envelope, my name sliced in half, like evidence. I called the bank before I could talk myself out of it. The automated voice felt colder than usual. Then came the alert. "Suspicious credit activity detected. New card applications under your name." I froze. "How new?" "Last 24 hours. The agent said. By the time I hung up, my phone buzzed again. My lawyer. "You're up early," he said. "My mailbox isn't," I replied. "Am I paranoid?" His voice dropped, measured, the kind reserved for courtroom truths. "Not anymore." The words stayed in the air long after the call ended. That afternoon, the neighbor from 3B knocked. "You might want to see this," she said, holding out her phone. Her door camera feed played, grainy footage from last night. A figure approached my building entrance, head down, wearing a Dallas Cowboys jacket. The same one Lauren wore every Thanksgiving, game day blue with a faint white scuff on the sleeve. My throat went dry. "Can you send me that clip?" She nodded. "Already did." I thanked her, voice calm, almost casual. Inside, though, my pulse drummed like I was back under that chandelier again, exposed, accused, performing composure. You ever look at proof so plain it stops feeling like shock? That's what this was. No denial left. Just confirmation. Night came slow. I couldn't sleep, so I sat by the window with a mug of cold tea and an old photo album. One picture caught me off guard. Lauren and me, teenagers, frosting smeared across our noses, laughing so hard the camera shook. I traced the edge of that image with my thumb. "When did you disappear?" I whispered. Maybe I was asking her, maybe I was asking myself. My laptop chimed, new email, from my landlord. Subject line, tenant concern, immediate attention. I opened it. Forwarded message attached, anonymous sender. To whom it may concern. Aaron Blake has a documented pattern of financial fraud and deception. Please review before renewing her lease. I read it twice, jaw tight, pulse steady. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance, fading into the night. They weren't just trying to ruin my name anymore. They were erasing where I lived. I started documenting everything. Every call, every text, every lie. The screen became a battlefield of receipts and red flags. I saved voicemails, recorded conversations, even took screenshots of timestamps. I wasn't collecting memories anymore. I was collecting evidence. My laptop hummed through the night, folders piling up. Mail theft, fake accounts, church fraud, anonymous threats. Each file a brick in the wall I was building between myself and them. Some nights, I forgot to eat. I'd stare at my reflection in the dark window, the glow of the monitor cutting across my face. I didn't look scared anymore, just tired, like someone who finally understood that survival is quieter than revenge. Around 2:07 a.m., a voicemail came through. Unknown number, 1 minute long. I hit play. Mom's voice filled the room, shaky, dramatic, practiced. "If you take this to court, you're declaring war on your blood. We raised you better than that." That last line lingered. "We raised you better." The same tone she used when I refused to co-sign Lauren's car loan. When I wouldn't send another check for just one more emergency. It wasn't guilt. It was control, dipped in sentiment. I replayed the message twice. Not for love, for clarity. You ever listen to a parent's voice and realize it no longer belongs to family, but to evidence? That was the shift. The last illusion gone. The next morning, I called my old landlord from Fort Worth. He answered, voice rough with sleep. "Hey, Aaron Blake. Long time. What's going on?" I explained the utility issue. He hesitated. "Funny you mention that. Couple years ago, your sister came by. Said you asked her to set up power and internet under your name. I even confirmed with her once. You didn't mind, right?" My stomach dropped. "She lied," I said. He sighed, that quiet tone people use when truth arrives late. "I figured. Bills stopped after a few months. Don't worry, I paid the remainder. You're clear. Just be careful." "Yeah," I whispered. "I've learned." After the call, I stared at the wall above my desk. A faint crack ran from the corner like a line on a map. Thin, patient, inevitable. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the fridge. My head filled with another sound. Coins sliding across the table years ago. Mom counting from my college fund. She'd called it borrowing. I'd called it trust. Neither of us was right. I sat down on the floor, surrounded by papers, bills, photos, court forms. I picked up one picture. Me and Lauren in church uniforms, arms linked, sunlight on our faces. It looked like proof of love, but maybe it was just proof of habit. "How do you mourn people still alive?" I asked the empty room. The question didn't need an answer. I unlocked my phone, opened the voicemail app, and renamed the file, Evidence, Maternal Threat. The title glowed cold on the screen. I hit save, my voice low and steady. "Got you." For a long time, I just sat there, breathing in the stillness. Not victory, not peace, just finality. The sound of a door sealing for good. The post went up on a Sunday morning, just like church used to be. Lauren's carousel flooded the feed. I lost my sister to greed. Her caption bled with sentiment. Sometimes blood isn't enough to hold a family together. First photo, her hand clutching a tissue. Second, our childhood picture, cropped, so I looked like the villain. Third, a fabricated screenshot of a text from me. "You'll regret crossing me." Comments rolled in fast. "She sounds ungrateful." "Poor Lauren, family should be forever." "Money changes people." Thousands of strangers lined up to judge a story they didn't know. I sat on my couch, the glow of the screen flickering across the walls. My stomach didn't twist anymore. That part of me had burned out weeks ago. I scrolled once, twice, then set the phone down. A message pinged. "Becca." "Why you?" she wrote. My reply came easy, because I stopped being useful. You ever realize the moment you stop serving someone is when you become their enemy? That's family politics 101. An hour later, Becca sent another text. "You need to see this." Then a video. I pressed play. The camera shook slightly, like it had been filmed secretly from a hallway. Mom and Lauren stood in the living room, the same one from every Christmas photo. Lauren held her phone like a mic. "Family stands together, and you refused," she said. Then they both burst out laughing. Mom dabbed at fake tears with a tissue. "Needs more tremble," she said. "Try again." I felt the air leave my lungs. There it was. The performance stripped bare. What had destroyed me was nothing more than rehearsal. Becca's next message came through. "You still think this ends with silence?" I didn't answer. I opened a new folder on my computer instead. Final proof. Inside, I dropped everything. Screenshots, voice memos, the church forms, the forged signatures, the video. Every betrayal had a file name now. By afternoon, My inbox looked like a courtroom. Evidence lined up, cold and clean. I drafted an email to my lawyer. Subject: formal complaint, family fraud and harassment. Body: concise, factual. Attachments: proof of forgery, HR reports, the Thanksgiving rehearsal, the voicemail from Mom. At the bottom, I added one more recipient, the police contact who'd once told me, "If it keeps escalating, send everything." But before pressing send, I stared at the cursor blinking beside my closing line. It looked like it was breathing, waiting. I typed, "I am not your wallet. I am not your daughter. I am done with evidence." Then I stopped typing and read it aloud. My voice didn't shake. It sounded like something notarized. You ever reach that point where you no longer want revenge, just documentation? That's where I was. I attached the files, hit send, and watched the progress bar crawl to 100%. The blue light on my laptop flickered as the email left my outbox, quiet, irreversible. For a second, the room felt suspended in time. The fan hummed. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance, growing louder. It could have been coincidence, or something else moving toward truth. I leaned back and closed my eyes. Every scene replayed like a film I'd already seen too many times. The chandelier, the Thanksgiving rehearsal, the church calls, the envelope on the floor. They blended into one long, sterile confession. My phone vibrated again. Notifications exploding. Lauren's post spreading faster. Strangers debating my name, my motives, my worth. Someone wrote, "If she's innocent, she'll stay quiet." Another, "Silence means guilt." They didn't know that sometimes silence isn't guilt. It's focus. I opened my notes app and started writing dates, times, logins, cross-checks. Each line another nail in the coffin of their version of me. At sunset, Becca called. "You okay?" "I'm efficient," I said. She exhaled softly. "That's not the same thing." "I know." There was a pause, filled with the faint hiss of her kettle in the background. "Do you want me to come over?" "No," I said. "Stay where it's calm. I need the space loud with proof." "Then promise me one thing," she said. "When it's over, don't let them own your silence either." The call ended, and for a moment, I let her words settle like dust on a courtroom floor. I turned my phone face down, opened the window, and let in the cold Dallas air. The siren had faded, but its echo lingered, steady, distant, almost rhythmic. Maybe justice didn't come with flashing lights or clean endings. Maybe it came disguised as a digital trail, a slow, deliberate reclamation. The laptop chimed again. Message sent successfully. That sound, so ordinary, felt final. Outside, the streetlights blinked on one by one. Somewhere beyond the glass, my name was still trending, my reputation still debated. But here, in this room filled with proof, I felt something like peace. Not victory, not forgiveness, just weight leaving my chest. I whispered the words once more, quieter this time, like sealing a document. "I am not your wallet. I am not your daughter. I am done with evidence." Then I closed the laptop. The blue light faded to black. And outside, the siren rose again, closer, clearer, as if the world had finally caught the sound of my truth. Months later, I lived in a smaller city, quieter, slower, kind in a way Dallas never was. My mornings smelled of coffee and jasmine soap, the scent rising with the sound of sparrows on the balcony rail. The air here didn't carry whispers. It carried peace. The apartment was smaller, but it fit me. One bedroom, one desk, one life I didn't have to share or defend. I'd found work again, finance for a small firm that valued accuracy over loyalty plays. No one here knew my last name carried ghosts. At the office, I mentored a new hire named Mia. Fresh out of college, all eagerness and nerves, She'd bring me questions scribbled on Post-its, apologizing before she even asked. One morning, she looked up from her desk and said, "I'm sorry I keep bothering you." I smiled. "You're not bothering me. Boundaries aren't rejection, Mia. They're self-respect." She nodded, maybe not fully understanding yet, but she would. In the break room, someone had taped a quote to the wall. "Peace is the space between reactions." I read it every day, like a quiet promise to myself. Because now, I didn't react. I recorded, I observed, I moved forward. Becca visited once a month, always with fresh cinnamon rolls from the bakery downstairs. We'd sit at my small round table, the new one I'd bought secondhand but sanded to perfection. Over coffee, she teased, "Your new tables seat more people now." I smiled. That's the point. Sometimes we'd laugh until tears came, the kind of laughter that belongs to survivors. Other times we'd just sit in silence, hands around warm mugs, knowing silence can be soft when it isn't forced. You ever notice healing doesn't arrive with trumpets? It creeps in quietly, through routine, through honest company, through mornings where nothing dramatic happens at all. My routines became small acts of ownership. Paying bills on time, changing the locks myself, lighting a candle without wondering if it would be used later as evidence of unstable behavior. Every small act whispered, "Mine." On my desk sat a framed note, handwritten in black ink, the edges smudged where my fingers had pressed too hard. To new tables? Next to it, my laptop screen glowed faintly, an unread email waiting. Subject: Case closed. I opened it slowly, not because I was afraid, but because closure deserved attention. All claims resolved. Investigations concluded. Digital trail verified. No further action required. No congratulations. No fanfare. Just clean sentences. Exactly how I liked it. I exhaled, long and steady. Not relief, confirmation. For the first time in a long while, my reflection didn't look defensive. It looked steady. A week later, the firm hosted a small volunteer day at a local shelter. Mia rode with me. On the drive, she asked what everyone eventually does. "Do you still talk to them?" I smiled faintly. "I talk to the version of them that exists in old photos. The rest doesn't need my attention." Mia looked out the window, thoughtful. "That sounds hard." "It's easier than explaining why I went back before," I said. We spent the morning organizing donation bins, labeling receipts. The kind of quiet order that felt like justice in miniature form. When we finished, the coordinator handed me a thank you card. Inside, someone had written, "You bring calm where chaos used to live." I didn't know who wrote it, but I carried those words home like a medal. That evening, I cleaned my apartment, humming without realizing it. I opened the windows wide, let the sunset spill across the floor. Gold, then amber, then gone. The air smelled of detergent and jasmine again. You ever feel life return in layers? One scent, one sound, one laugh at a time. Later that week, I stopped by the grocery store on my way home. Ordinary trip, ordinary day. I parked, grabbed a cart, and almost didn't notice the woman across the lot, standing beside a stalled car, phone in her hand, screen dark. Lauren. She looked smaller than I remembered. Hair shorter, shoulders rounded inward like she'd been living on apologies that never took. I froze for half a second, the past flickering like static. Frosting fights, whispered plans, the betrayal that burned them all. Her thumb tapped the screen again. Nothing. Dead phone? No audience. For a moment, I thought about walking over, about asking if she needed help. But that urge belonged to an older version of me, the one who mistook kindness for access. So I just stood there, heart steady, keys in hand. She looked up once, scanning the lot, eyes passing right through me. I didn't wave. I turned, pushed my cart toward the sliding doors, and let the automatic hiss of the entrance swallow the noise behind me. Inside, the store lights felt warm, safe. The small talk of strangers floated like background music, soft, harmless. I picked out coffee beans, milk, jasmine soap, the essentials of a rebuilt life. At checkout, the cashier smiled. "Good day so far?" "Getting there," I said. Back home, I unpacked my groceries, brewed a fresh cup, and set it next to the framed note on my desk, "To new tables." I traced the words lightly with my thumb. Freedom, I realized, wasn't distance, it was direction. It was choosing who sat across from you, who got to stay, and who had to live as a footnote in your story. The night air drifted in from the balcony, carrying the sound of city life, cars, laughter, faint sirens too far to matter. I leaned against the doorframe, mug warm in my hand, and let the moment settle. No anger, no gloating, just gratitude. Because sometimes the end of a war isn't peace, it's quiet. And quiet, when you fought for it, feels like a miracle. When blood cuts deeper than love, freedom isn't distance. It's choosing who gets a seat at your new table,